Athens, Greece, October 14, 2024. It was supposed to be a mundane Tuesday morning at the National Archaeological Museum. The air conditioning hummed through the high-ceilinged halls, fighting the autumn heat, as a group of 30 preschoolers shuffled through the corridors, holding hands in pairs. Among them was Leo Kastellanos, a quiet 5-year-old boy with messy curls and eyes that his mother, Elena, often described as too deep for a child's face. Leo had never shown an interest in history. He liked dinosaurs and toy cars. He had barely learned to write his own name. But as the group approached room 38, where the bronze fragments of the Antikythera Mechanism, the world's oldest analog computer, lay suspended in their glass case, the atmosphere in the room shifted. A heavy electric silence seemed to descend, pressing against the eardrums of the tourists and guards. Leo stopped. He let go of his partner's hand. He walked toward the glass case, not with the skipping gait of a toddler, but with the heavy, measured stride of an old man burdened by a lifetime of calculations. He pressed his small forehead against the cold glass. The security guard, a man named Kostas, who had worked there for 20 years, moved to intervene, to tell the boy to step back. But before Kostas could speak, Leo opened his mouth, and the voice that emerged was not the high-pitched voice of a 5-year-old from the suburbs of Athens. It was the voice of command, trembling with frustration that had been bottled up for 2 millennia. "The eclipse cycle is wrong," Leo whispered, but the acoustics of the room carried his voice into every corner. Then his eyes rolled back, exposing the whites, and he switched languages. He didn't speak modern Greek. He didn't speak English. He began to shout in a rough, guttural dialect that sounded like stones grinding together. "To granaziontes selines, then inayaton chrono, inayaten aspida." The gear of the moon. It is not for time. It is for the shield. The kindergarten teacher, Sophia, froze. She felt the hairs on her arms stand up. She didn't understand the dialect, but a visiting professor from Oxford University, Dr. Julian Thorne, who happened to be standing 3 feet away, dropped his notebook. The sound of it hitting the marble floor echoed like a gunshot. Dr. Thorne turned pale, his hands shaking as he adjusted his glasses. He knew that dialect. He had spent 40 years studying it. It was Doric Greek, specifically the dialect spoken in Syracuse, Sicily, in the 3rd century BC. Leo turned to the professor, his eyes regaining their focus, but holding a gaze of terrifying intensity. "Tell them to look under the bronze plate, inside the chaotic fragment. The coordinates are not for the stars, they are for the magnetic pole, and it is moving too fast." Then the boy collapsed. What happened next would trigger a chain of events that would baffle the Greek government, terrify the scientific community, and reveal a secret that humanity had forgotten for 2,136 years. This is the story of Leo, the boy who remembered being Archimedes, and the warning he came back to deliver.
The doctors at Evangelismos Hospital found nothing wrong with Leo. No concussion, no epilepsy, no fever. His brain scans were normal, or so they thought. Elena and Nikos, Leo's parents, took him home, terrified and confused. They tried to tell themselves it was just a strange episode, a child mimicking something he saw on TV. But the Leo who came back from the hospital was not the Leo who had gone in. That night, at exactly 3:14 a.m., an eerie coincidence to the mathematical constant pi, Elena woke up to the sound of scratching. She ran to Leo's room. The lights were off, but the moonlight streamed in, illuminating her son. He was sitting on the floor, surrounded by walls covered in drawings, but they weren't drawings of stick figures or houses. Leo had taken a black marker and covered the white walls with perfect geometric circles, spirals, and equations. He was drawing with a speed and precision that was mechanically impossible for a 5-year-old's motor skills. "Leo," Elena whispered, her voice trembling. The boy didn't look up. He continued drawing a complex spiral. "The circles must touch," he muttered in that same deep, adult voice. "The Romans, they didn't understand. Marcellus promised he wouldn't kill me, but the soldier didn't know. He stepped on the diagram. He stepped on the solution." Elena grabbed her husband, Nikos. Nikos, a structural engineer, looked at the wall and felt his blood run cold. He recognized the geometry. "Elena," he choked out, "this isn't scribbling. This is advanced calculus. This is a geometric proof for the volume of a sphere inside a cylinder." Leo stopped drawing. He turned to his father. "It was my tombstone, Nikos," he said, using his father's name for the first time in his life instead of Papa. "I asked them to carve a sphere and a cylinder on my tomb. Did they find it? Did Cicero find it covered in briars?" Nikos fell to his knees. He knew his history. Cicero, the Roman orator, had famously discovered the lost tomb of Archimedes in Syracuse, identified by a sphere and cylinder. But Leo hadn't even started kindergarten history lessons. "Who are you?" Elena cried, tears streaming down her face. "Where is my son?" Leo's face softened, heartbreaking expression of ancient grief crossing his features. "I am Leo," he said softly, "but the vessel is small, and the memory is large. I had to come back. The mechanism, the one in the museum, it's broken. We built two. The one they found was the decoy. The one that matters, the one that controls the field, is still waiting."
3 days later, the story had leaked. A janitor at the museum had recorded Leo's outburst on his phone. The video went viral on TikTok, reaching 15 million views in 24 hours. Comments flooded in. "Hoax! Demon possession! Time traveler!" But Dr. Julian Thorne, the Oxford professor who had dropped his notebook, couldn't sleep. He watched the video on loop. The dialect was perfect. The syntax was archaic. He made a call to his colleague, Dr. Maria Kouris, the head of marine archaeology at the University of Athens. "We need to talk to the boy," Thorne insisted. He mentioned the chaotic fragment. "Maria, we haven't even published the CT scans of fragment D yet. How could he know about the hidden layer under the bronze plate?" Dr. Kouris was skeptical. "It's a child, Julian. Parents feed them lines." "Just come," Thorne begged. They arrived at the Kastellanos apartment on a rainy Thursday. Leo was sitting at the kitchen table, eating cereal. He looked small, fragile. But when Dr. Kouris placed a high-resolution photo of the Antikythera Mechanism on the table, Leo pushed his bowl away. He pointed a small, sticky finger at a corroded gear in the center. "You are reading it backwards," he said flatly. Dr. Kouris frowned. "Excuse me?" "The teeth," Leo explained, sighing as if talking to a slow student. "You counted 223 teeth for the Saros cycle, but there are 224. One is broken at the root. If you don't count the missing tooth, the calculation for the eclipse shifts by 8 hours. And if the eclipse shifts, the magnetic alignment fails." Dr. Kouris felt a wave of nausea. She pulled out her laptop and opened the 3D X-ray files that her team had spent 5 years analyzing. She zoomed in on the gear in question. There, buried under 2,000 years of calcification, was a microscopic ridge, a broken tooth root. "My God," she whispered in Greek. "He's right. It's 224. Dr. Thorne leaned forward, his hand shaking. "Leo, if the count is 224, what does the mechanism calculate? It's not just an astronomical clock, is it?" Leo looked up, and for a moment, the room seemed to darken. "It is a lock," he said. "The Earth has a shield, an invisible fire that protects us from the sun. But the shield breathes. It weakens. Every 12,000 years, the poles flip. The fire goes out. The mechanism was designed to calculate the exact moment of the collapse." Silence stretched for an eternity. Leo was describing a geomagnetic reversal, a cataclysmic event where Earth's magnetic field weakens, exposing the planet to deadly solar radiation. "When?" Nikos asked, his voice barely a whisper. "When does the calculation end?" Leo picked up a crayon and he wrote a date on the paper napkin. August 12th, 2026. The first mechanism was the clock. The second mechanism, the one I hid before the Romans killed me, is the key. It can restart the field.
but you have to find it. The revelation of the date triggered a quiet panic among the scientists, but it was Leo's specific instructions that forced their hand. He claimed the second device, the Antikythera key, was not on the ship that sank off the Greek island. He claimed it was hidden in Syracuse, Sicily, in a sea cave that had been submerged by rising tides over the last 2 millennia. The Cave of the Mirror, Leo called it. Funding was impossible to get through official channels. Who would finance an expedition based on a toddler's dreams? But Elon Musk, who had been tagged in the viral TikTok video thousands of times, sent a private message to Dr. Thorne. If there's a non-zero chance this kid is the real deal, I want to know. Jet is ready, team is funded. Within 48 hours, a covert expedition team landed in Sicily. It included Dr. Thorne, Dr. Chorus, a team of Navy SEAL divers, Leo, and his terrified parents. Syracuse is a city built on layers of history. Leo walked the streets with a strange familiarity, pointing at modern buildings and describing the temples that used to stand there. The Temple of Apollo was taller, he muttered, and the market, it smelled of fish and olive oil right there. He led them to the coastline, to a rugged stretch of cliffs known as the Plumerio Marine Reserve. The waves crashed violently against the white rocks. Here, Leo pointed to a seemingly solid rock face. 2,000 years ago, there was an archway. The water was lower. The entrance is 10 meters down behind the fallen pillar. The divers were skeptical. The sonar scans showed nothing but solid rock. But Leo insisted. The Romans didn't find it because I used the mirrors to melt the rock entrance. It looks natural. You have to break the seal. Dr. Thorne authorized the use of a ground-penetrating radar drone. For 3 hours, they waited in the blistering sun. Leo sat on the edge of the cliff, staring at the horizon, humming a melody that sounded ancient and mournful. Then the radio crackled. "Command, this is Dive Team Alpha. You're not going to believe this. We found an anomaly 10 meters down. It looks like melted rock. There's a cavity behind it." Elena grabbed Leo's hand. "How did you know?" Leo looked at her, his eyes filled with tears. "Because I sealed it, Mama. I sealed it while the city was burning. I could hear the screams of my neighbors. I knew I would die that day, so I hid the hope of the future where the soldiers couldn't reach it."
The operation to breach the underwater chamber took 12 hours. Heavy lift balloons and laser cutters were used to remove the melted rock plug. When the divers finally swam into the void, their helmet cameras broadcasted the feed to the command tent on the surface. The world watched, or rather, the select group inside the tent watched, as the lights cut through the darkness of 2,000 years. The cave was dry. An air pocket had preserved it. Wasn't empty. In the center of the cavern, sitting on a plinth of carved limestone, was a box. It wasn't wood, it wasn't iron. It was made of a strange, dull metal that Dr. Chorus couldn't immediately identify. It looked like lead, but it shimmered with an oily iridescence. "Bring it up," Dr. Thorne ordered, his voice cracking. "Gently! My God, gently!" When the box broke the surface of the water, the sky above Syracuse suddenly darkened. A freak thunderstorm, unpredicted by any meteorological model, formed in minutes. Thunder shook the cliffs. Leo stood up. "The field is reacting," he said calmly. "It knows the key is awake." They transported the box to a sterile mobile lab set up in the back of the transport truck. The team gathered around. Leo was lifted onto a stool so he could see. "It has no hinges," Dr. Chorus said, examining the box. "No lock. How do we open it?" Leo reached out. "It opens with sound," he whispered. "It responds to the resonance of the Syracuse dialect, the specific vibration." He leaned close to the metal box. He took a deep breath, and then he spoke a single word, a name, with such power and sorrow that the glass vials in the lab rattled. "Hiero," the name of the king of Syracuse, Archimedes' kinsman. With a sound like a dying breath, the metal of the box seemed to liquefy, retracting into itself. The lid dissolved. Inside, resting on a bed of velvet that had disintegrated into dust, lay the device. It was smaller than the original Antikythera Mechanism, but infinitely more complex.
It was a sphere of interlocking gears made of gold, bronze, and a translucent crystal that pulsed with a faint, rhythmic blue light. It was impossible. Technology like this shouldn't have existed in 212 BC. It shouldn't exist now. The Omega Gear, Leo whispered. He reached in and touched the crystal. The moment Leo's skin touched the device, the crystal projected a holographic schema into the air. It wasn't magic. It was advanced optics using light refraction through the crystal, concepts Archimedes had studied his whole life. The hologram showed the Earth. It showed the magnetic field lines surrounding it like a cage, and it showed them tangling, snapping, and collapsing. A red countdown timer appeared, floating in the air. But it wasn't counting down time. It was counting down magnetic field strength. Current strength, 18%. Collapse point, 5%. Dr. Thorne looked at the data streaming on the side of the hologram. This matches the magnetic decay rates we've been seeing in the South Atlantic anomaly. But how? How did he calculate this 2,000 years ago? Leo answered, his voice echoing as if two people were speaking at once, the boy and the ancient mathematician. I didn't calculate it alone. I had help. They came from the stars, the travelers who taught the Egyptians. They gave me the metal. They told me the cycle. They said humanity would forget, and then humanity would be in danger. Leo looked at Dr. Thorne. The mechanism in the museum tracks the celestial position. This mechanism tracks the core of the Earth. They must be connected. You must take this to Athens. You must join the two halves. And if we do? Elena asked, terrified. What happens on August 12, 2026? If we join them, Leo said, the mechanism sends a signal into the Earth and a signal to the sky. It acts as a jump start, a defibrillator for the planet's core. If we don't, the sun will strip our atmosphere away. News of the discovery couldn't be contained. The alien artifact of Syracuse was the headline on CNN, BBC, and Al Jazeera. But the most chilling reaction came from an unexpected source. 2 days after the discovery, a black car with diplomatic plates arrived at the research facility where the device was being held. Cardinal Marcus Rossi, the head of the Vatican Apostolic Archive, stepped out. He didn't ask for permission. He walked straight to Dr. Thorne. We know about the sphere, the cardinal said, his face grave. We have the letters. What letters? Thorne demanded. The letters from General Marcellus to the Roman Senate, the cardinal revealed. Marcellus wrote that Archimedes wasn't killed by a soldier in a fit of rage. He wrote that Archimedes was silenced because he was trying to activate a weapon of the gods. Rome feared he would destroy the world. We have kept the letters secret for 2,000 years. The cardinal looked at Leo. He knelt before the 5-year-old boy. You are him, aren't you? The defensor. Leo looked at the old priest with a weary smile. Rome always feared what it couldn't conquer, Marcus. But I didn't want to destroy the world. I wanted to save it. And now, you have a choice. You can hide the truth again, or you can help us take the device to Athens. The cardinal stood up. He turned to his Swiss Guard escort. Escort this boy and the device to Athens. Use the diplomatic corridor. No one touches them. The journey to Athens was a chaos of media helicopters and military escorts. When they arrived at the National Archaeological Museum, the building was surrounded by thousands of people. Some were praying, some were protesting, some were just watching the end of the world. They cleared room 38. The glass case of the original Antikythera Mechanism was opened for the first time in decades. Leo stood on a platform. He held the Omega Gear, the glowing crystal sphere, in his hands. The air in the room grew cold. The smell of ozone and sulfur filled the space. "It's time," Leo said. He placed the crystal sphere directly onto the fragmented, corroded main gear of the original mechanism. Click! It shouldn't have fit. The corrosion, the damage, the time. But it fit perfectly, like a key finding its lock. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a low hum began. It was a sound so deep,
It vibrated in the teeth of everyone in the room. The rust on the original mechanism seemed to glow. The gears, frozen for 2 millennia, began to turn. Grind, click, whir. The 30 fragments of the mechanism floated into the air, suspended by a magnetic field, reassembling themselves into a ghostly outline of the original machine. A beam of pure, white light shot up from the device, through the ceiling of the museum, and into the night sky. Leo's eyes rolled back. He began to speak, but this time it wasn't just a warning. It was a set of instructions. The connection is made. The signal is sent. But the energy is low. The Earth needs more than a machine. It needs the collective consciousness. The 12th of August, you must all look up. You must all think of the shield. The mind is the battery. The beam of light pulsed once, twice, 3 times, and then vanished. The gears fell back onto the velvet, lifeless once more. But the crystal sphere remained, glowing steadily now, pulsing with a heartbeat-like rhythm. 6 months have passed since that night in Athens. The scientific community is in an uproar. Geophysicists have confirmed that the magnetic decay has inexplicably paused. It hasn't recovered, but the collapse has stopped, for now. Leo Kastellanos is 5 years old again. He plays with his toy cars. He doesn't speak Doric Greek anymore. He doesn't draw calculus on the walls. The memories of Archimedes have faded, leaving behind a normal boy. But sometimes, his mother Elena finds him staring at the sun during sunset. Last week, Dr. Thorne visited. He asked Leo if he remembered anything. Leo shook his head. And no, Mr. Julian, I don't remember the old man anymore. But as Dr. Thorne was leaving, Leo grabbed his hand. He looked at the professor with a flash of that ancient, terrifying intelligence. The signal was received, Julian, Leo whispered. By whom? By the Earth's core? Thorne asked. Leo smiled, a smile that didn't belong to a child. No, by the ones who gave me the metal. They are coming back to check the repairs. They will be here on the date, August 12, 2026. Leo let go of his hand and ran off to play. Dr. Thorne stood in the doorway, looking up at the sky. The Antikythera Mechanism wasn't just a clock. It wasn't just a shield generator. It was a beacon, and someone, somewhere in the dark between the stars, has just answered the phone. The countdown has begun. Are we ready for who is coming to help us? Or are they coming to foreclose on the planet we failed to protect? Time will tell. It always does.